a little bit of positivity coming out of the East Coast. Now, according to MJ Biz Daily, Cannabis Social Equity Trust Fund in Massachusetts is flush with more than $27 million, according to a funding update first reported by State House News Service. The fund's total balance, according to the state's Executive Office of Economic Development, came largely from the first full annual transfer of marijuana from the Marijuana Regulation Fund, which occurred February 1st. 15% of the Marijuana Regulation Fund, which is financed by adult use application and licensing fees, as well as state excise taxes, is earmarked to bolster the Cannabis Social Equity Trust Fund. Per the article, the full annual transfer of $27.4 million, followed by an initial transfer of $2.3 million in December 2023. Those responsible for the fund faced pressure in 2023 when critics noted that it remained empty nearly 2 years after its creation. But something changed over the past year, and Massachusetts lawmakers passed language to resolve an issue that prevented money from being transferred into the trust fund. I wonder what happened. We'll talk about that in a second here. As of June 30th, 2024, the balance of the trust fund was $27.3 million, reflecting funds paid through the Immediate Needs Grants Program, which launched in February. The INGP provided $2.3 million in funds to 50 Massachusetts social equity and economic empowerment businesses licensed to by the CCC through individual grants, ranging from $20,000 to $50,000, equipping recipients with critical support for outstanding business expenses such as debt service, payroll, professional services, regulatory fees, and rent. On another positive note, the Massachusetts Executive Office of Economic Development and the Cannabis Social Equity Advisory Board say that they plan to continue the INGP. Can we get a round of applause for that, man? Getting money to the people who need it most.
There we go.
Yeah. According to the annual report, the two agencies are in the process of developing a second round of financial assistance with a stated goal of, quote, ensuring the full participation of entrepreneurs from communities that have been disproportionately harmed by marijuana prohibition and enforcement. So what caused the CCC to make such a drastic change over the last year? Could it have been circumstances surrounding the ousting of former Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission chair and former state treasurer Shannon O'Brien, where it was alleged that she had been regularly making racist remarks and mistreating former staffers? And you remember that story when all that shit got out? He kind of swept that in under the rug, and all of a sudden, $27 million appeared out of nowhere. I don't know. Are O'Brien's replacements attempting to make amends for the office's past sins that have come to light? Who knows? And at this point, who cares? Massachusetts Social Equity just got a $27 million shot in the arm. That's a win in my book. Big love to all that will be benefiting from that. And let's hope that most, if not all, of the funds are utilized in a manner that are helpful to the recipients. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News.
Rico, you know the next story that we cover about this is going to be how this money was squandered by different politicians and whatnot. Like this, it's a good story today, but what's going to happen is going to be sad.
Yeah, let's see who's administrating these grant funds and who's administrating this funding. Because
this is exactly what happened when we made the good news story about Missouri and how they were doing everything, and then like literally the next day.
So don't worry. I'm sure I'll be here to scream and curse about it if it unravels. I mean, I think that we just need to be very careful. There's been a lot of really well-funded social equity funds, and then they give it to a group to administer those funds who fucking squander it. And that is absolutely ridiculous. They're telling you get a list of things that you can use it for, legal, licensing, blah, 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 build out. And then you submit your proof of your use of funds. They don't approve it. They don't give you the money. There's now 3 disbursements. It's like insane.
In this case, it's supposed to go directly to the recipient. So let's hope that happens. In this case, it did happen with the first round.
It's supposed to go to the recipients via who?
It always goes directly to the recipient.
Go direct. It's a direct grant. The money's supposed to go directly to them, and hopefully that is how it's going to go down. And
problem is
if it does, like I'm a big fan of it, and I'm just saying like this is positive today, and hopefully it stays positive. And I hope the funds get distributed before they find out where that money came from, because it went
right. And it always goes
$2 million to $27 million in a matter of months.
Go ahead, Todd.
Hold
on a second. Go ahead, Todd.
I'm just saying part of the problem is they're only giving out between $20,000 and $50,000, right? I mean,
that was the first round. That's when it was 2 million, and now it's 27 million. So it was 2.3 million that was originally distributed, and they were saying like, why is the fund stayed empty over the first 2 years when old girl was in when old girl was the chair, and then all of a sudden 27.4 million is in there now. And
I got a few things.
So what are the loans that they're giving out now? After that
hold on. Let me jack this thread.
Yarrow, 1 second. Let me just announce this because we did get another super chat in from Ben LeBone. Thank you so much, Ben. He says hashtag deschedule or bust. Go ahead, Yarrow. It's all you know.
All right. So first of all, the additional $24 million came because they had to change some laws on the legislative side in order to get the rest of the funding in there. So I'm not going to say that when there's smoke, there's fire, because the article does indicate that there needed to be a change outside of the executive branch in order to complete the rest of that funding.
If you will.
Secondly, I'm a big advocate for these programs. I think that they are the equivalent of cannabis economic stimulus programs, where it doesn't guarantee that every business is going to win or thrive, but at least it seeds the industry, because those monies are typically spent on equipment and consultants and taxes and fees, and all of that really churns that money. It doesn't just stay in these social equity applicants' hands. It doesn't just go for swag or stupid things. It gets spent in the economy. So it really is a proper economic revitalization model, in my opinion. Thirdly, as a recipient of cannabis grant funds, I can tell you I've taken a lot of heat because I don't look the way people think social equity is supposed to look. And I just have to say, this is not reparations. It is specifically typically targeted for people who have either borne the brunt or been 1 degree of separation away from the brunt of the effects of prohibition, which is not just black and brown, although primarily black and brown. But a lot of people get this thing conflated because it is not going to right the wrongs of 300 years of slavery or persecution of people or Jim Crow or pre-civil rights or even what's going on in America today. Lastly, the biggest problem with this program is the source of funds, not the use of funds. So these programs deserve to be well-funded, continually funded, with less restrictions on how these people can deploy this money to support these fledgling businesses. But if you tax the industry to support the industry, that is like crazy, because you're cutting over here to give over there. We know that the government can come up with money for programs that are priority, but tax the industry right out of the gate to be able to support the industry, it makes no sense.
No, I could not agree with you more. And we need to tax these heavily polluting industries, the ones that are fucking up everything, and make the money come from them.
Sounds like you're talking like RFK China, right now, Rico.
Like,
I don't know.
Talking about China and India.
No, I'm talking about these big chemical companies. I'm talking about these big chemical companies that are producing all these PFAS that they're having a big issue with out in Massachusetts too. Like all these other industries that are getting these huge Donald Trump tax breaks. They should be taking some of that money and funding the people that are most in need. And Yarrow, like, don't ever think that you don't look like social equity, bro. You look straight up like social equity, man.
Yeah, it's not because you're white, it's because you're rich, Yarrow. It's not because you're white, it's because you're rich, Yarrow. We love you. Listen, I think that I disagree that we shouldn't tax the industry to support the restorative justice portion of the industry. We have all of these. We complain about Chads all the time. We complain about MSOs all the time. People coming in from other industries, spending their dad's, trust funds on cannabis. That's cool. But the people who are coming in and are new to this and are not true to this, did not fight these fights, did not do that, should in fact give back to the people whose backs and shoulders they're standing on to be able to make the money that they make today. So I think that it's perfectly fine. Like, I love what Oakland does, where they make social equity operators get incubated by a regular operator. That's a requirement of your license, is you incubate someone who is a restorative justice social equity applicant. And I don't see a fucking problem with that.
Yeah, we'll call it quid pro bro. And
yes,
that's cute.
Now that's a policy I can get behind.
So I will give you a case study of the problems with incubation if we have just a nanosecond, which is I am incubated in San Francisco, and in exchange for that incubation, these people got permit priority processing for their retail. The problem is they haven't completed their raise and their build out. And so my incubation permit is sitting there hovering
really
and going nowhere. And I cannot change my incubation agreement, and I cannot move my approved permit to a different location. So the problem with an incubation is you are completely dependent upon the performance and outcome of the company that is incubating you. And in the event that they either shit the bed, move too slow, or end up going in a different direction, as an incubatee, you are basically shit out of luck.
So you mean that maybe we would have to evaluate our partners a little bit better and kind of make better. I mean, it's not your fault, and that fucking sucks. I'm sorry you're in that situation, Yarrow, but that's why I'm saying, cool, take the tax money, have them pay taxes on that, and take that money and funnel it into the social equity community. Because a lot of incubation doesn't work because a lot of those people are fucking scammers. That's why we see the same people incubating hello something such in kitchen and taking the money and never incubating the people with it. So we know what the fuck happens, and you know that it pisses me off. You know what I mean? So yeah, ride off in the Jeep once again in the nice suit.
Let's just hope that the Jensens don't catch word of this.
Oh boy. We're going to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.